Hello and welcome to the Transfers podcast powered by FootballTransfers.com, where we bring you news, insight and analysis on that most important, if the least important things, football. I am Ronan Murphy and I'm delighted to be joined by Lars Leeftink, a Dutch football expert and the editor at Football Transfers Netherlands. And he is here to tell us all the things that are happening in the Netherlands with Ajax, their kind of latest disaster or current disaster, as well as a lot of players that we should keep an eye on heading into January and the summer windows that could be on the move out of Holland and to bigger and better things, or maybe just different things. Because I'm sure Lars thinks that Holland is the biggest and best thing, the Netherlands top flight. Hi Lars, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good. Yeah, so I suppose we better get started from A to Z. The first one is AZ Alkmaar. So yeah, that is the A to Z. So the record sale at the moment is Thierry Reinders to AC Milan for just under 25 million back in 2023. But it looks like other players that they have on the books could be on the move very soon. And there was a meme going around after Parrott scored all those goals for Ireland that the AZ directors will be on the phone to each other just laughing and counting all the money that they could get over the next couple of windows. But as well as Parrott, Kees Smit has been linked with Liverpool and been called the next Pedri by Ronald Koeman. So what can you tell us about him? Why is he so good and what should we expect from him?
I think the best thing about him is his technical aspect. I think he's best at 8 or 10 in the midfield. He's been used as a 6 because in the Netherlands, certainly with clubs like AZ, you need to play a football style that's attacking. So players like Kees Smit really get a chance at 6 in the Eredivisie. And the only real problem with him so far, this season, 19 goals. Of 19 games, 2 goals, 4 assists. The productivity is not really there yet. He's not really important enough so far for a club like AZ to really think he can make a step to a club like Manchester United, like Liverpool, where he's been linked to Real Madrid, Barcelona. We can all name them all. I think everybody wants to have him at this point. But I think he needs to be a little bit more decisive in the final third of the opponent. And I think it's the physical aspect as well, certainly for competitions like the Premier League, could be a little bit of a problem for him. Because he's not really the strongest player. He really needs to have about his technical game. That's the best part of his game. And you need to be really good to be technically also good in the Premier League without really physically having problems there.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why he probably hasn't been rushed through to the Netherlands international setup as well, kind of waiting for that development. Would you say that's right?
That's certainly part of it, but the problem is also, I think Netherlands might have the best midfield at the moment in the whole world with Reinders, with Gravenberch, Frenkie de Jong. That's only the starting lineup. If you see what's on the bench with Xavi Simons, for instance, it's really hard to get in there. But I think what Koeman really wants to see is him really starring in important games like against Feyenoord, like against Ajax, PSV, in the Conference League where AZ is playing in right now. And that part is also a bit lacking. As I said, he's just not decisive enough. Not many goals, not many assists. And that's really, if he wants to play as an 8 or a 10, that's really something that has to be better.
Yeah, so it seems like you're a bit harsh on him, but obviously he has
he's
huge
still young.
Potential. Yeah.
He's still young, and the thing is, I think he's the biggest talent the Netherlands has right now. But the problem is, if he goes too fast to clubs like Real Madrid, like Manchester United, the chances that his career is going downhill instead of uphill, to me right now is bigger. So I think he might actually want to do this season at AZ still, and then maybe a next step in between the top clubs of European football.
Yeah, because Arne Slot is obviously a big fan of him, and that's why he's been linked with Liverpool at the moment. Liverpool fans are getting excited, I think, by reading that he's the next Pedri, but you think that maybe an intermediate step, maybe to a better team in the Eredivisie or the Bundesliga perhaps, or even Italy could be the right step for him?
I think he's a perfect player for a competition like the Spanish League or the Bundesliga, where an attacking style of play is also very important, but less physical than in the Premier League, for instance. I think if you want to really be good in the Premier League, besides being a good football player, which Smit is, you need to be physically right. And a player like Gravenberch with Liverpool really is physically also very good. next to the fact that he's also a good football player. And I don't know if Smith's going to ever get that, but I think the Premier League is a chance for him. Only I think if he needs to take a step in between before he can actually play at the top level of the Premier League.
Yeah, we're probably seeing that from Florian Wirtz coming over at the moment, and he maybe doesn't have the physicality or isn't used to that physicality of the Premier League, and you can see why he flourished in Germany, but didn't necessarily isn't at Liverpool yet anyway, and that might take more time for him. So Smith maybe could heed that warning and look at what's happening.
He's a similar type of player as well as Smith is.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So he's obviously a very exciting player, and we should expect to see a lot more of him. And if you can tune in on Thursday nights to watch him in the Conference League, that's probably worthwhile, because you can also tune in and see Troy Parrott, because here he is the best striker in the world over the past week. So he's been linked with Everton, Leeds, West Ham. And I'm watching him as an Ireland fan and thinking, maybe he's too good for some of these teams. Maybe he's too good for these teams. But what's the reaction to him been like in the Netherlands? Because I know last season when he signed, maybe the expectations were high because AZ spent so much money on him.
Yep. Well, the thing is, with AZ, there is also another good spits, Max Meerdink, who is actually a Dutch player, also a big talent. But the problem is Meerdink can't get into the starting 11 because Parrott is scoring goals like a madman so far. 14 goals, 14 games, 13 goals so far in this season. Hat-trick against with Ireland, as you said. Linked with many clubs. The only thing is, there's a big chance he's going to be the top scorer in the Eredivisie. But that's not always a guarantee. Let's say just being good in Europe and also doing it there, because the Dutch defensively, the Dutch Eredivisie is not really that great. It's an offensive competition. I think everybody knows that. And strikers that were top scorers in the Eredivisie last couple of seasons didn't always do well in other top 5 competitions like the Bundesliga, Premier League, you name it. So I think he can make the step, but I don't think the thing is, if he's going to play World Cup, I mean, he can really show. I don't think he's going to go away in the winter transfer period. I think it's going to be summer. But if he's going to play a good World Cup, if he's going there with Ireland, of course.
Big if, yeah.
I mean, his price is going to absolutely blow off the roof. And then the world-class teams are going to be in line for him. There's no question about it.
Yeah, we've already seen his estimated transfer value rise. It's just under 20 million at the moment, and no doubt that's going to kind of continue. And Spurs as well have a 20% sell-on clause, so AZ will be looking to get as much as possible for this guy, because they have to give 1/5 of it away essentially. So if he keeps on scoring goals, there's no reason why teams that we've mentioned, the likes of an Everton or West Ham or teams like this, wouldn't be interested in him, because they are two teams in need of a striker. But like you've said, there is that kind of warning that comes with some of these Dutch top scorers, that they're Wout Weghorst or Jan Vennegoor or Pesselink, these players kind of shown in the Eredivisie, but maybe not necessarily abroad. And perhaps England as well mightn't be the best fit for him either, because we've seen we saw how he did in England before he moved to the Netherlands. So maybe somewhere else could be the best fit for him. And I think there are players perhaps that maybe might be more suited to playing in the Premier League or moving to the Premier League. Maybe PSV, Ismaël Saibari is one of them. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. You will correct me, because your pronunciation of Gravenberch, your pronunciation of Gravenberch is very different to mine. Yeah, so what do you think of a Saibari and how he might get on?
Well, I think Saibari this year has been the best player in the Eredivisie. I think how important he has been for PSV, not only in the Eredivisie, but also in the Champions League. He scored a hat-trick against Feyenoord in the Kuip. Important also for the Moroccan national team, of course. Also going to be at the World Cup, so also PSV is going to hope that he's probably going to shine there. The chances are very real that he's probably going to make a transfer in the summer. And I probably think also this guy, and I think we're going to repeat this very much in this podcast, but I think also he is best suited for playstyle in the Bundesliga or in the Primera Division. Technical competitions with lots of football in there. Saibari is a brilliant player, really, really good in the final third. Multiple assists, multiple games with multiple assists and multiple goals scored. So really, that's something we talked about Smit, something that Smit is lacking. But Saibari already has. He is already important, also in the Champions League. And that is something before where Kees Smit needs to go. But Saibari already is there. And I think if he's going to play in the World Cup and he's going to be very important there, then he's going to make a really big next step.
Yeah, he's been excellent, obviously, for Morocco in 2025, having them qualify for World Cup. 4 goals and 10 appearances in 2025, which is nothing to be sniffed at for a midfield player. And obviously he's been linked with West Ham, which I think every player that I made when I was deciding which
just
player
keep buying players.
Yeah, and when we both decided it's linked with West Ham, but AC Milan, Marseille, they are options for him as well as Everton and Aston Villa in the Premier League. So there is lots of interest in him at the moment, and I think his ETV being 25.1 million at the moment, I think we'll be looking at a lot more than that.
That's going to be higher.
Yeah. That just continues to rise. And another player that some people might be familiar with, if we move on to Feyenoord, is the surname Timber. But it's not the Timber that we know already from Arsenal. Although Arsenal are interested, it's Quinten Timber, his brother. Is he kind of anything like his brother, or what should we kind of be expecting from him if he were to move to Arsenal or any of the other clubs that were interested?
I mean, he's a different kind of player because he's in a different position. But I think the biggest difference is the physicality. I think Timber has a little bit more physicality to him. He's a really good box-to-box midfielder. Certainly when you couple him with a creative midfielder. So if you have a team that also already has a creative midfielder who's going to play the passes, Timber is very good in just making the drive to lanes, getting open. He's very good at that. The only thing about him is why I think he is maybe the most suitable for the Premier League is because his physical style of play. He uses his body really well when he's on the ball and off the ball. And I think that is something we don't really see much in the Eredivisie. And that's probably why I think he's, from all the players we're going to name in this podcast, he's probably the one that I think he's the best suited to go to the Premier League the next step. And the only question is which team, but it has to be a team that does not think that he's going to be a creative player, because he can make passes, he can give assists, but his quality lies in the box-to-box, the hard working, the physical aspects of the game, the making of runs. He's really good at that, and I think that they also get a leader because he's really, really experienced in the Champions League, Euro League, Eredivisie. Has a lot of games for Feyenoord on the highest level, so it's really a one of the most experienced players that we talk about in this podcast as well.
Yeah, I see he's linked to Bayer Leverkusen as well, and I think that's no surprise because he probably is that sort of Granit Xhaka sort of a figure in midfield rather than maybe an exciting attacking player. He's a disruptor. He's someone that can break up play. I know Arsenal fans have loved what they've seen of his brother Jurrien Timber at Arsenal, so it's no surprise that they, given the Xhaka history, are probably interested in him as well. And with Thomas Partey leaving, maybe they have that kind of void in midfield for someone like him to fit this kind of physical dominant midfielder.
Yeah, I also think he's very good for the Bundesliga because I think the Bundesliga is very up and down, very high pace, always running, always. I think Timber can do that really well. So I think Bundesliga and Premier League are probably the two competitions where he's best suited. And I don't think really a transfer to the, let's say, top of the rest, so let's say Bayern München, Dortmund, Arsenal, Liverpool, that sort of teams. I think that's maybe a little bit too much because he's probably going to be on the bench then. And I think he wants to be a starter. So you're probably looking at teams like Leverkusen, Leipzig, that sort of level, not precisely those teams, but that sort of level where he's going to probably be at. And I think that's going to be probably next summer. Might be this winter already because there's a lot of interest. So maybe Feyenoord does not want to wait. The chances that he's going to be to the World Cup is also not very big, I think, because we talked about it with Kees Smit. It's very different, very, very hard to get in there in the midfield of the Netherlands right now. So he's probably not going to be there. So they don't really have to wait for that. They can sell him in the winter if they want. But the question is if they want to do that as Feyenoord, because they also are probably the only team in the Eredivisie who's going to challenge PSV for the league title, and they're going to need Timber to do that.
Yeah, I think maybe so. It might come down to what he wants himself as well. If those positions in the Dutch midfield, the Dutch squad are so kind of hard to fight for at the moment, if he wants to push for that move and perhaps get himself to a nominally bigger club, a club with a bigger name, maybe to change the coach's mind. So he cannot be left at home, I suppose, and goes to the USA, Mexico, Canada next summer. So he is one to keep an eye on. I think there's another Feyenoord player as well, Javaro Reid. He's been linked with Bayern Munich, but that's not really a surprise because Bayern Munich really struggled to sign fullbacks. So any fullback that's halfway good seems to link to Bayern Munich. And Bundesliga teams, like we've said on the show, they love signing players from the Eredivisie. I think it's an easy transition or a simple transition because the kind of style of play is similar enough. Yeah,
I think that's correct. Reid's a really, really good player. It's not really a box-to-box back that really likes to run, but he's better on the inside. So if you have possession, he's really good at that. I think he doesn't have really a lot of experience. That's the main reason why I think maybe a move like this is a little bit too soon for him, because he really has played. Last season was the first year that he really played a full season on the level of Feyenoord. So that's the main thing. He's not really in the Dutch squad as well at this moment at right back. Also because we also there have a lot of good players with Dumfries and Frimpong at the moment. So to me, I mean, it's probably good for him if he's going to be a more decisive player at Feyenoord. If he's next year is probably also still there at Feyenoord. But if you look at the teams who have interest in him, it's going to be really difficult for Feyenoord and also really difficult for Reid, especially because if Bayern München let's say in January Bayern München come knocking, then is he going to say no to that? Probably not.
No, you don't really say no to Bayern Munich. Yeah,
precisely.
And I suppose there is a recent history of Dutch players going to Bayern Munich, to Ligt and Gravenberch.
Yep.
You mentioned Liverpool and Frimpong. Why do you think he necessarily isn't getting on very well at Liverpool? What do you think's kind of gone wrong so far for him there?
Well, the most interesting thing is it's also a little bit with the Dutch squad because at Leverkusen they played a very different style with 3 defenders, 2 wing backs, and at Liverpool they play with 4, and he's also playing with Salah on the right side, who's also like to go on the outside. So that means Frimpong and Salah really do not connect really well because they're both on the same side at the same place when Liverpool are in possession. And what you really want to have is one player who's on the inside, on the right, and one player who's on the outside. And the problem with Liverpool right now is that Frimpong and Salah both play on the outside, and you have that with the Dutch team as well, because Male is probably most of the time our right winger, and he also does that. And Frimpong really likes to go sideline to sideline, and most of the time Malen and Salah are there. So the room and the space that he needs is not there. What it was with Leverkusen, where he did have that space.
Yeah, so are you seeing similar sort of problems happening for him with the Dutch national team? Because a lot of our listeners and viewers probably don't watch them week in, week out, because they're watching Ireland, of course, or England or Scotland or whoever. But this is the same sort of issue he's having at club and country.
Yes. So what he really needs, he can play right winger. He's attacking wise, he's really good enough to do that, but then you're getting in a situation where Dumfries is your right back, who also likes to go from side to side. So what Frimpong really needs to be really good as right back, if you play in a system with 4 players, like Dutch team does, then you really need a right winger who's more on the inside. Xavi Simons, for instance, could play that role. I think if he's starting on the World Cup, then Frimpong might be better as right back, because he then has the space to go side to side, because Simons is on the inside. So that's really the problem he's having with Liverpool and also with the Dutch team, because he has Maal and Salah there who actually play in the same space as he does.
Yeah, I think perhaps when we see the African Nations Cup start in the next couple of months, then you might see Frimpong have a different role at Liverpool. He might play the Salah role even, and that then fans might get to see maybe his best qualities, and maybe that could be an option for him for the Netherlands as well going
Certainly,
forward.
Because the right wing position in the Netherlands is not really that well. We have a lot of left wingers, really good left wingers, but right wingers, Malen is really the only option we have. So I think if Frimpong really is going to play that role as a right winger for Liverpool, which Liverpool does not have many options in the front except for their starters. So if he's going to play at Liverpool at right winger, and he's going to be good there, then there's no way why Koeman is not trying to play him. I mean, he's going to get friendly, so he's probably going to try it anyway with the Dutch squad to play him as right winger. But again, then there's the question about Dumfries and if they connect well. That's maybe the second problem that's going to extend that.
Yeah, you fix one problem and then another one comes along. Yeah, and I think that could be the case at Ajax at the moment, because I said at the introduction that we would talk about Ajax, and see anybody who kind of follows Ajax closely knows that these are one of the giants of Europe, but they do not look like one of the giants of Europe at the moment. Things keep going wrong for them. They're 11 points off the top in the Eredivisie. They're our last in the Champions League, which, considering some of the teams that play in the Champions League these days, anyone gets an invite. It's like a child's birthday party. Everyone just gets invited in the class as long as they're in the class with them. But yeah, tell us what's going on at Ajax. Can you explain? I know this could take 3 hours now to explain. Try and explain it a bit quicker.
Well, so what happened is the technical director of Ajax, Alex Cruz, took over last year, I believe, and he chose Francesco Farioli as the manager last year. Farioli did brilliant job there. Second place, lost of course the title. I think Ajax had 9 points ahead of PSV, and still lost the title eventually. But seeing where Ajax came from the years before, he did a really good job. The problem was that Farioli wanted things that Cruz could not give him. That's why Farioli eventually left and signed with Porto, where he did get those opportunities. And Cruz then decided that Ajax needed a manager with a more Ajax DNA type of play, so more attacking. Also a little bit because the defense wanted that a little bit more. They wanted to have Farioli did not really play attacking football. Really because the squad was not good enough for it. We see that now. I mean, John Heitinga, who did get appointed, is not really a good manager. I think he's a good assistant manager. He did really well with Slot. There's a reason why Slot was so happy to have him. But I think as a manager, there's a whole different element that comes with it, and he's a really good people manager. Every player that has him as manager was really satisfied with him, but tactically he's just not good enough, and you saw that in every game that he was manager of Ajax.
Every game, that's a bold
every game. Yes, every game. There was not one game that we saw an idea of what he wanted to do with the ball and without the ball, and that is a really big problem, because if we can see it, that means that's a really big problem. And eventually Alex Cruz already said, if I have to sack him, then I'm going with him. So now Ajax is in a situation that they do not have a manager, but they also do not have a technical director. They're going to first search for a technical director. Right now, Jordi Cruyff is the one that's most mentioned. And after that, they're going to probably look with Jordi Cruyff for a new head coach. And one of the names that is being mentioned is Xavi. Well, of course, also a little bit of a background as a style of play that suits Ajax. So that's why he's probably me mentioned right now. But first of all, there has to be a technical director. And the most important part for this you got to get third place, because first and second is going to be incredibly difficult. 11 points and 8 points behind PSV and Feyenoord. And the third place gives you the right to, in ieder geval, qualification for the Champions League. So that's probably going to be what they're aiming for. And yeah, they have to strengthen the squad in the winter. And there really are, I guess, 2 to 3 players in this squad who are actually going to probably, you're going to get a little bit of money for, but the rest does not really have any value at the moment.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Alex Cruz probably did well was to get rid of some of the deadwood in the team, the players that were kind of weren't needed or costing lots of money. I think he kind of rejuvenated the squad. So maybe there is a bit of optimism in future for whoever it is the new coach might be.
So the thing is that is probably the part he did the best. All the Sven Mislintat signings, I think a couple of them are really doing it well now outside of Ajax. Carlos Forbes, for instance, Conceição, for instance, wasn't really a signing of Mislintat, but he did sell him eventually. And the problem still is, and Cruz already said that as well, if we have a transfer for, let's say, 40 million, we can only spend about 20 to 30% of that on a new transfer. And I think that's really the problem that Ajax has, because not only is the squad not good enough at the moment, the financial part of it is also right now not good enough to buy a left back, buy a right back, buy a 6. Jordan Henderson still hasn't been replaced. Hato still hasn't been replaced because Ajax does not have the money for it. And in this squad right now, there's only 3 players that Ajax could sell, so that they actually have the financial flexibility to buy some players instead of loan players like James McConnell, who hasn't really played up till this point because partly he's been injured, but also when he's fit, he's just sitting on the bench while he's loaned by Liverpool. So the new technical director has to probably get money first before they're actually gonna buy new players, which Ajax obviously needs. Certainly at right back, at left back, at positions who are so important in modern football. There needs to be better players there, but there has to be money first.
Yeah, so perhaps some of the players that might leave, we could touch on. Kenneth Taylor has been linked with Roma, West Ham. He has a big ETV for the Dutch league for the Eredivisie to over 30 million. So he is a player they could cash in on. I know you are kind of a fan of his.
Yeah, I think that certainly last year on the Farioli was really good. This year he has a different role that doesn't really suit him. I think he's at his best when he's around the striker, when he can make the runs in behind, when he's in the opponent's box. That's where he's at his best there. That's where he can score goals, make assists, that sort of thing. And now with the play style that Ajax now play, or have played under Heitinga, he really was 6. He was a lot of not playing on the half of Ajax himself, which is not the way where he needs to play. He needs to play on the half of the opponent. Then he's at his best, but he now played more like a 6 or 8, and that's not really his position. So that's why his productivity, his stats this year are not as what it was. And the thing is, Ajax already bite with Oscar Gluck, already a player who's probably is his successor, and is already probably a more productive player because he's a 10 that Ajax did not have last year. But the problem is there wasn't really much interest summer in Ajax. Only Porto had interest in him, and that was because Farioli was there, of course. So the question is not really if Taylor wants to leave or if Ajax wants to sell him, and I think both things are true. Ajax would get a lot of money for him, and Taylor would get the chance that he wants. But the main problem is right now that there has to be interest in him, and based on how he's playing right now, the big clubs are not going to come for him. So they really have to hope that there's somebody willing to pay, let's say 20, 25, 30 million for him. I think that's probably somewhere where Ajax is gonna ask for him. But the question is there anybody who's willing to sign him for that money in the winter?
Yeah, well, I think it's hard to impress clubs when the club itself that you're playing for and your teammates, the performances you're putting in, especially the performances in Champions League, kind of aren't good enough. So hopefully for him and some of the others, that the coach that does come in, Frank de Boer has also been linked, I see, and Paul Sibelius, who was sacked by Wolfsburg there at the start of the international break. Yeah, these are other names being linked, but whoever kind of comes in maybe has to get these players playing better if they want to get some money for some of these players coming. And the only team that is linked with everybody, West Ham, like I said earlier, but Roma as well is one you picked out for Mika Götze or Götze, is it? Yeah, they are interested in him, and Besiktas in Turkey as well, and he could be another option. Tell me about him.
Yeah, he's probably been with Eurobas the best player this year. He has 5 goals, 4 assists in 10 games, so that's really productive. The big problem with him, he's a left winger, is his physical aspect. He had a lot of injuries, certainly a lot of muscle injuries, and that is maybe the main reason that the top teams, do not really yet want to pay the 80 million ETV that we have right now. But he's a player where there is interest, and there's not a lot of players at Ajax right now who can say that. So maybe Ajax also, I don't think they really want to sell him in the winter. I think they want to sell him in the summer, or maybe not at all. But the problem is Ajax needs money, and Götze is probably one of the only players right now that really all the teams are interested in. So if he's the only player they can get money for, they might actually need to sell him so that they can strengthen the rest of the squad.
Yeah, and so some of the players they might be able to get money for maybe are academy players or younger players, and Jordi Mocchio is one of those I've seen. He's a teenager. He's not necessarily one of the starters or star players, and his estimated transfer value kind of reflects that. It's only just 10 million or around 11 million, but he has been linked with Man United and Newcastle, who were always kind of on the lookout for the next big thing, and a bit like Chelsea trying to sign every youngster in Europe. Maybe they're trying to get in before them.
Yeah, but I think he's one of the biggest talents that Ajax has right now. The biggest problem is they're at the moment trying to sign him to a contract extension. His contract, I think it was 2027, if I'm not mistaken, the summer of 27. But he's only becoming 18 in February, I believe. So that's probably why he hasn't really signed his contract yet, because Ajax wants to sign him to a 5-year contract. But the problem really is at this moment that Mocchio, or his agent, I don't really know, wants a lot of money. There was speculation that he wanted as much as Henderson had last year with Ajax. So that's really where the problem is at this point. I don't think Ajax wants to sell him. Because his value is not there at this moment. And I think that if they keep him and if they're going to start him as a midfield player, then his value is going to rise like crazy, because he's really a good player that just needs time, playing time. That's actually the most important problem right now with him. But then again, Ajax needs money. And if they can't get a contract extension done, the summer of 2026 might actually be the right moment to sell him, because otherwise he's going to go for free, and that's certainly not what Ajax can use right now.
No, you can't spend zero money.
There you go.
You can't spend zero. What kind of player is he? What have you seen from him so far? Because obviously he hasn't played that much yet. Yeah,
so it's a little bit of a difficult one because he hasn't really played much. But I don't really think and Ajax themselves don't really know which position is the best for him. He played a little bit of left back on the inside so that he can be important in possession. I think his best position is 8, because he's a really, really complete midfielder. Biggest strength is, of course, on the ball, is the physical aspects. So it's really good for someone who's not even 18 years yet. The biggest problem for him is the defense and the positioning. That's something at Ajax you need to put pressure on the defense. And that's something where he makes a lot of mistakes so far, but it's probably very logical for someone who's not yet 18. But I think he's a really complete midfielder. And I think at 8 he's probably at the best, but I think you can put him at 6 if he has experience there.
Yeah, so he seems very versatile, and it's no wonder that the likes of Newcastle or Manchester United are interested in him. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting winter for Ajax, an interesting next couple of months, seeing who comes in through the door to sit in the boardroom and sit in the dugout, and then which players might actually go out through the door and leave. So, yeah, I imagine you and your colleagues are going to have a very busy next few weeks as the transfer window comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as long as there's more, as long as there's big moves for Troy Parrott, and maybe he can replace Harry Kane at Bayern Munich. Maybe he can be a successor, or Robert Lewandowski at Barcelona. I think that those are the kind of the levels he should be aspiring to reach. Thanks for your time today, Lars. But before we go, as always, Duncan loves a bit of a hero and villain segment. So you are going to pick the hero because you are our guest today. Who is your hero of the week?
My hero of the week is Curaçao. They qualified for the World Cup as the smallest country ever. Dick Advocaat is the manager there. Probably everybody knows him. He does not stop coaching at all. Yeah,
he's the oldest coach ever to qualify for
exactly. So he did
78.
It's absolutely ridiculous achievement. And what I can also say is that the Netherlands really supported them because they're obviously part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So everybody wanted to see them succeed and wanted them to go to the World Cup because also they can obviously play in the group with the Netherlands in the World Cup. That would be absolutely awesome. And a lot of players for Curaçao that also play in the Eredivisie. So we know a lot of players there. And it was really fun to see them qualify. Even if it wasn't for a country like Haiti, then we probably would have all been talking about Curaçao right now.
Yeah. It's a great kind of success story that we see maybe with the expanded World Cup. We're getting to see a bit more of these. Cape Verde Islands is another one, and that's who I'll be supporting if Ireland don't make it through these playoffs, because they have the first League of Ireland player to ever qualify for the World Cup is a Cape Verde international. He is a Ireland under 19 international, but his parents or whatever come from Cape Verde. So another small nation to support next summer. But obviously, because Duncan is the main man of this podcast, Scotland, that is who we will be supporting. Apart from Netherlands, of course, I will definitely be supporting Scotland.
You have to say that, of course.
Hoping for more McTominay bicycle kicks at the World Cup next summer.
Yes.
So my villain of this week is club football, because international football was so good this week with that Ireland late winner, that Scotland late winner, the Curaçao story,
Austria.
Iraq, Austria. There's so many great stories this week in international football that I don't really want club football to come back. So that's my villain of the week. No thanks, club football.
Just keep going.
Yeah, we just international break forever. That would be perfect. It will probably make our jobs a bit quieter as well. So we put the feet up and watch more football.
We have to talk about Ajax and all that.
Thanks very much for your time, Lars. I hope our listeners and viewers learned about some of the players they might be keeping an eye on or might be arriving at their clubs in the next few months and next summer. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Transfers podcast powered by FootballTransfers.com. If you like what you heard, please follow, share and rate us. Your support helps us bring you more news, analysis and insight. You can find me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it at SwearNotPaul. Lars is Lars Leeftink. You can message us on Instagram, YouTube and Facebook at Transfers Podcast. Our Twitter and Blue Sky address is at TransfersCast. Our production is by Mark Caulfield, a Pro Podcast production. Our music, as always, is by Mark Caulfield and David L. Stay safe, be well, and thank you for listening. We did the transfer window. Ian McGarry, who left us and wasn't known for a couple of years. Duncan was low. Now he's back with a new show. It's called The Transfers. It's where everyone's gonna go. The Transfers, the Transfers, the Transfers. Where everyone's gonna go. Where everyone's gonna go. The Transfers, the Transfers, the Transfers. Where everyone's gonna go. 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 Where everyone's gonna go.